if it gives you a word that's like, nope, that's not me, you can say, that doesn't sound like me at all. Can you make it warmer? Or that's something I say a lot. Can you make it sound less robotic? And it will take that feedback and it will tweak it. So when you utilize it to create your social media captions or to help get you unstuck and get you started on a first draft of your caption, give it that feedback and say, these are the top points that I need to communicate in this caption. Like one, two, and three, stream of consciousness, just brain dump it all out there. Welcome to the Breadwinner Podcast. This is the show for sourdough microbakery owners who are building a sustainable, successful, profitable business from their home. If you are already in business or if you're dreaming of starting one, this is the place for you. I'm your host, Caroline Bauer. I own a successful in-home sourdough bakery, and I am here to share everything I've learned that works and that doesn't, plus everything that I'm researching along the way so we can build thriving businesses together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Podcast. I'm so glad you're tuning in today. As always, I am here to share some really practical, tangible insights into building your sourdough microbakery. Today's episode, in keeping with our themes of efficiency and working smarter and not harder, is going to be a really good one. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that has absolutely changed the game for me once I learned how to use it well. So I'm going to be talking about utilizing AI tools to create more efficient processes and just cut out some of the hassle and the overwhelm of our day-to-day tasks, both in our bakery work as well as in just our household rhythms. There are so many AI tools available, but for the purpose of this episode, we're just going to specifically hone in on ChatGPT and share 3 really powerful ways that you can use it to make your life easier. Before I get started, you are the very first to know that I'm offering a pre-Black Friday special on my coaching packages. Down in the show notes, you'll find more details, but this is an opportunity to work one-on-one with me in a series of coaching calls where we can get to know you, your business challenges, and help you up-level and hold you accountable. I've shared before about my experience with coaching, but I invested in a coach last summer and have worked with her ever since. And honestly, I probably would not have even launched this podcast if I had not put some money behind my dreams and goals and behind what I knew was possible for me. Making the choice to invest in coaching helped me to take a new level of ownership over the goals that I wanted to create. And it also gave me an outsider's perspective and some really effective accountability to make sure that I've been moving forward on my goals. So my coach helps keep me accountable, but she also is just a straight shooter and tells me exactly what I need to do and not do to make big moves in my business. And I can do exactly that same thing for you in your business if you are stuck, if you're overwhelmed, if your processes are feeling inefficient, or if you feel like you're spending a disproportionate amount of time on certain areas of your business. If you have really big goals as you move into 2025, jump down in the show notes, book your first call with me to lock in the lowest rate that I will ever offer for one-on-one coaching calls with me. I'm really excited for this opportunity to work one-on-one with some of you and see you level up and grow and serve even more people through your business. All right, with all that said, let's start talking about AI, specifically ChatGPT, and 3 really powerful ways that you can use it to work so much more efficiently in your business and in your life. I'm going to set the stage a little bit and talk about why I wanted to create this episode, why talk about AI, and share a little bit of my personal experience with it. So AI, or artificial intelligence, has been in the spotlight a lot recently, and for very good reason. Some people maybe have some conflicted opinions about it, but the reality of it is AI is here to stay, and we can either use it wisely and use it well to work smarter and not harder, or we can get left behind. There are some really wise and big voices in business who have said that is the reality as business owners. We either begin to adapt and begin to utilize it, or other businesses will grow faster and smarter and surpass those who are not utilizing AI. That's a high level reality. We're going to bring it down much lower and talk about really the specifics. I want to touch on maybe some of your hesitations. I've talked to some people that I'm close to who were hesitant to start using artificial intelligence in their businesses or just in their daily life. And I can totally understand and respect that. So if this episode doesn't feel like it's for you, maybe you just skip by it or come back to it when you feel ready. But if it's something that you've been curious about or you want to learn more about how to use ChatGPT in your business, then go ahead and keep on listening. When I first started using I was a little unsure how to use it. And so it took me a while to really wrap my mind around some of the capabilities. At first, I mostly just pulled it up and asked it to write me an Instagram caption, and it always felt really robotic, and it used emojis that I would never use and just felt very inauthentic. And so I shelved it and didn't really use it for quite a while, and then revisited it last summer around the time when I was beginning the launch process of this business and realized that I had been underutilizing it and just was not aware of the full capabilities of it. My very first mind blowing application of it was when I was preparing this podcast. I sat down with ChatGPT and I said, I'm dreaming of creating a podcast that is a resource for microbakery owners, and ask me all the questions that you need to know to help me conceptualize this idea and then start to make goals and get clear on who I'm serving and what it's for and how it's going to look as I move forward. And so ChatGPT asked me like 20 questions, and I got really clear on who I was serving, the format I was serving with, all sorts of questions that I needed before I could move forward with purpose and with clarity on creating this podcast. And so I used it as a way to brain dump all of my thoughts, all those big high level ideas and all of my dreams and goals and visions. And I wrote it all down, just stream of consciousness, brain dump, totally disorganized, and said, help me make sense of all of this. So all of the content comes from me. It's all coming from my heart and my brain. But ChatGPT can organize it and make sense of it and move forward in a way that is really concise and actionable. So I do that also when I'm creating my podcast scripts. So for this one, for example, I brain dumped an outline in Google Docs. I said, these are all of the topics that I want to make sure to cover. Can you help me to organize it and make it make sense? And then sometimes I go off the rails and this part isn't actually in my outline at all. But it helps me move forward. There is no way that I would be on episode 39 of this podcast and cranking out episodes twice a week without the help of a tool to help me organize all of my thoughts and turn it into an outline that I can then use as a script to record these episodes. So that was a tangent, but that was to help explain how you can utilize it as a way to organize all of your thoughts. If you're like me and you're an ideas person, you've got all of these thoughts running through your head all the time, and it can be really hard to bring it down to an actionable level where you can actually follow through on something. So that's the background of kind of the game changer moment for me of how I started using it. And I use it almost daily in one way or another, usually to just organize my thoughts, organize my schedule. And then I plug in my transcript from the episodes and ask it to help me distill it down into a couple paragraphs to summarize it for the show notes and things like that. So most of you are not podcasters, and that is a-okay, but we are all Sourdough Microbakery business owners or aspiring to be. So let's bring it down to that level and talk about how very specifically and practically you can utilize ChatGPT as a microbakery owner to make your processes more efficient. Today's episode of the Breadwinner Podcast is sponsored by Sunrise Flour Mill. I recently sent a poll to my Sourdough Microbakery customers, and I learned that 29% of them prioritize organic ingredients, and they're willing to pay more for them. That sent me on a hunt for high quality organic flour that aligned with my business values, and I absolutely found it in Sunrise Flour Mill. Everything that I've baked with their heritage organic flour so far has turned out beautifully. My husband even commented that he thought it tasted better without me even saying anything. Their ethos is every day from scratch, which I resonate with so deeply, with this idea of making every decision intentionally, even down to the organic flour that you're baking with. I feel so good about offering products with Sunrise Heritage flour to my family, but also to my customers. Sunrise has generously offered a 20% off coupon to listeners of the podcast, and you can find it down in the show notes if you want to try this flour for yourself. Number one, I've already touched on, and I think it's probably what the majority of us think of first as an application for ChatGPT, and that is doing things like creating your content for your social media. The key with this is helping your ChatGPT to learn your voice, what you actually sound like when you're writing. And so you can just go in there and you can say, I would like you to learn my voice. Can you ask me 5 questions to help understand the tone that I communicate in? And so it can ask you that. You can also put in long form content if you have emails that you've written, or if you're a blogger and have some content that you've created in the past, you can put that in there and it will begin to learn your tone and begin to learn how you structure your sentences. And if you have certain phrases that you use a lot, or if you have a warm tone or a friendly tone or professional tone, all of those things, it will begin to adapt. And the content that it creates will sound more and more like you, and you give it feedback. It is artificial intelligence. It has a learning capacity. If it gives you a word that's like, nope, that's not me, you can say, that doesn't sound like me at all. Can you make it warmer? Or that's something I say a lot. Can you make it sound less robotic? And it will take that feedback and it will tweak it. So when you utilize it to create your social media captions or to help get you unstuck and get you started on a first draft of your caption, give it that feedback and say, these are the top points that I need to communicate in this caption. Like 1, 2, and 3, stream of consciousness, just brain dump it all out there. Can you organize it and create a compelling caption that communicates whatever I'm trying to communicate to my audience, whether it's sharing part of your story of the history of your bakery, or whether it's sharing your appreciation for your customers. Just pour it all out there and let ChatGPT organize it and make it concise and take that work off of your plate. Along the same lines, you can use it to create product descriptions. So if you have a new item on your menu and you want to give a brief but compelling description, maybe you want to share a little background of why you added it, or you want to share a little bit about the combination of the flavors, or communicate the texture, or how maybe they can serve it. You can brain dump all of those ideas into ChatGPT and ask it to help you create a product description. If you need it to be a certain length, you can say, I need a 200 character product description, or I need 1 paragraph or 2 sentences, and it will work within those instructions. You could also use it to create things like event invites. If you are teaching a sourdough workshop, or if you are hosting a pop-up or joining a pop-up, anything like that, you can pour all that information in there, say, this is the date, this is the time, this is who the audience is for, this is how they can get tickets, this is what they'll take away from the class, things like that, and ask it to create a description. Now, with all of this, I will say ChatGPT makes your first draft. It is robotic. It is always going to, even when it knows your voice, it is always going to sound a little bit robotic because it's not human. So you go in there and you tweak it and you make sure that it really does feel authentically like it's you. So it's your voice going in and ultimately your voice going out. But the artificial intelligence in the middle helps organize. Sometimes the most time-consuming part of the work is trying to organize those thoughts into something that really makes sense and feels clear. And that is what you can let ChatGPT do for you. Along the same lines of creating content and communicating, another really powerful way that you can use it is on the customer service side. So say you have a customer with an obscure request, or maybe someone who's been routinely late to picking up their order, and you're just not quite sure how to handle it, you can go into ChatGPT and say, here's my situation. Can you please help draft a response that communicates with warmth and integrity, but also firmly communicates my policy or my boundary? And it can help you articulate that response so you don't have to sit there ruminating on the text or the email in response. And you can just grab that first draft, tweak it a little bit to your voice, and then move on forward. It doesn't just have to be for the hard communications either. It can just be for this simple daily messages too. You can ask it to create a first draft of the text that you send when your orders are open, or the reminder text when they need to pick up. Or I have a draft of a text when they're a little bit late and it hasn't turned into a whole ordeal, and I just send that out to communicate that it's time for them to pick up. If you're struggling with any of those types of customer service communications, that's a really good way to use ChatGPT to pour out all your thoughts and your intention behind the conversation and ask it to help you organize it and make it concise and clear. And the more you teach it your voice, like I talked about, the more it will really feel authentic and like you when it creates those responses, and you'll have to do less and less tweaking on the actual first draft that it puts out. The next really powerful way that you can use it, and I did this experimentally at first because I was like, is this even possible? And it is. And I was mind blown and so excited. But you can plug in recipes. So I just went and I grabbed 4 different recipe URLs off of the internet, just from various sourdough blogs, all different places. And I pasted all of those URLs into the chat GPT and I said, this is what I'm baking this week. I'm going to multiply recipe number 1 by 3. I want to multiply the next one by 6. And I want to multiply the next one by 2, etc. Can you please create a shopping list of all of the ingredients that I'm going to need? And so it can pull the data from all of your recipes and create one consolidated shopping list. So if you need 1,000 grams of flour over here and 500 over here and 1,700 over here, it's going to consolidate that all down onto one list for you so you don't have to jump back and forth. Same thing with your other ingredients. Maybe you've got cinnamon over here and cinnamon over here, and it will consolidate it all down for you. That is tremendously helpful. But the next part is just as exciting, maybe even more. So the next phase of my experiment was to say, can you please create a baking schedule for me based on these recipes? And so it did. So it created a schedule and it said, okay, so start at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and then walked me through the whole schedule. And then I, as an experiment, said, I work a 9 to 5 job and I leave the house at 8 in the morning and I get home at 6. And the hours that I have available are 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So please create a schedule for me that works within those hours. And it did. And so it was able to take all 4 of those recipes, create the shopping list that's consolidated, and then create a prep schedule that works with a theoretical 9 to 5 schedule. This could be a game changer. Maybe you're not working around a 9 to 5 schedule, but maybe you're working around kid sports schedules or drop offs or PTA meetings or church commitments, whatever you need to work around. It can help you create your schedule around those commitments. I can see this being so tremendously helpful. Now, this experiment did use recipes that were online on blogs, so I plugged those URLs in. If you have your own recipes, you may need to tweak this process a little bit and maybe have them on a Google Doc or on a Word doc or something on your computer that you can upload into ChatGPT. You can attach a document to the chat and say, based on the recipes attached, I'm baking the cookies, I'm baking the scones, and I'm baking the cinnamon rolls. And these are my quantities, and this is my schedule. And can you please help make a shopping list and a prep schedule for me? And it can do that for you. I was absolutely blown away and so excited when I saw the success and saw the possibilities of utilizing ChatGPT in this way for you. So, the third and final way that I'll talk about in this episode, now, like I said, there are endless ways to use it, but we're just sharing three really powerful ways in this episode. So, the third one is time management. This is something that we all struggle with, but especially like I just touched on, if you're working around kids' schedules, volunteer opportunities, meetings, church commitments, things like that, that can be really tough to work your sourdough schedule in among it all without working insane hours long into the night or early in the morning. And so you can use it to help you plan out your full schedule. The best way to utilize it for this context would be to tell ChatGPT everything that you have going on in your week. So tell it all of your priorities, tell it everything that you have that's hard and fast, a scheduled commitment like those meetings, those kid lessons, drop offs, things like that. And then also the things that are flexible but also need to happen. For example, maybe you need to take a walk every morning, you need to eat lunch every afternoon, you want to move your body, you need to take a minute to sit down and read a book, or you need to mop the floor, put a load of laundry in on Wednesday and fold it on Wednesday afternoon, all those things and more. Just dump it all in there, all of the to dos, and say, please help me organize this. And here's my baking schedule. I have a market on Saturday, and let me know what I need to do in between all the other things to make sure that I get enough sleep and have everything done in time. Then you can even say, add a 25% time buffer to all of my baking prep tasks. And that can help ensure that all of the unforeseen things that happen have some room for flex, because it's going to happen where maybe it takes you longer to prep something than you anticipated, or your dough is going to proof a little bit slower than you planned. And so if you ask it to give you that buffer time, that will help ease some stress as well. Utilizing it to plan out your schedule can be wildly powerful for probably most of us who are running a business and juggling so many other things at the same time. I really encourage you to explore and start with one of these three ideas. Then you can just experiment and branch out. Sometimes I'll ask it things like, hey, are you capable of doing this? And it'll explain it to me. Or, hey, can you research various tools and tell me what my options are for XYZ? Can you act as a researcher and explain to me the science of sourdough starter at a fifth grade level? Anything and more. You can go and just ask all the questions or brain dump all your thoughts and ask it to help you take the next step. All right. So, to wrap it all up, these are just a few ways that you can utilize this really powerful tool in smart, strategic ways to help you work more efficiently in your business. Like I say all the time, we are all about burnout proofing our businesses here. And this is one of the ways that you can do that. I really hope this episode was helpful. I would love to hear ways that you are using AI in your own business. Go ahead and screenshot the show. Tell me about your strategies or your takeaways from this episode and tag me. I'm Caroline Bauer _sourdough. It absolutely makes my day when I see those posts, and I love to reshare them when I get the chance, so we can all connect and see where we're listening from together. If you haven't already, make sure you're following the show, whether you're listening on YouTube or on a podcast app. Subscribe or follow to make sure you don't miss an episode, because they drop every Monday and Thursday, and they're always packed with valuable information for growing your business. As I mentioned before, if you need one-on-one insight into your business and some accountability to help you get to the next level, my pre-Black Friday offer to lock in my lowest rate that I will ever offer for one-on-one coaching. It's down in the show notes, and you can book your first call with me down there. As always, I am so thankful that you spent some time listening with me today. I cannot wait to be back here very soon with another episode. But until then, happy baking.